Welcome to my live this morning. For me, it's morning anyway. I'm over here in beautiful Thailand and I'm just waking up, as you can see. That's why I look like I just woke up. I'm probably going to have to figure out a better time for me to do these lives because what I realize is that when I first wake up, I'm not quite ready to talk, and I'm trying to come in at a decent hour for my audience in the United States, but we're going to probably have to adjust it a little bit. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for this topic, and it's really all about how to design your year without burning out, which is also one of the reasons why I'm going to find a better time to do this. But let's talk about this year's theme. I have every single month themed out, and this month is themed as Start Fresh. Okay, so making sure that we start fresh and we look at our year with fresh new lenses and we think about what we're doing because this is no longer about us playing with at a game. It's about us creating our life the way we want. So first of all, we are talking to you if you are a high capacity woman. Okay, that's who I'm talking to. High capacity woman building a business and their lives that they actually want to live. That's you. If that's you, then I'm talking to you. Okay, so let's say this out loud. It is no longer cute to romanticize exhaustion. It just isn't. If you have been talking in the past about how tired you are and how you cannot do this and how nobody takes you seriously and how nobody helps you, today's the day you need to stop saying that because it's no longer cute. So let's stop romanticizing exhaustion. Just like I'm talking about getting up early in the morning and figuring out a better time. I can do that because I own the business. So, being tired all the time is not a badge of honor. Being, burning yourself out is not proof that you're serious. It is not. And constantly saying, I'm exhausted, I can't do this anymore, is not a strategy. Okay, we are grown women and we are capable women. And if we want a different lifestyle, we can design one intentionally. Okay, so I really think that whatever we want to make is possible. And that's what I think about us as human beings and as women. I saw a video yesterday where this guy was saying, finally the spell is broken. We can finally realize if we really sit back and look that we can live wherever we want. We can do whatever we want. We can be like ants and just roam around this great country, roam around the world where we want. And before, we didn't think that was even a thing, but we can. Okay, so let's just reflect. Let's get really honest. The first step is reflection. What do I want? And I don't mean like a vague reflection. I'm talking about real clarity. You need to look back and ask, what actually worked in 2025? What absolutely did not work? What drained me? What felt aligned? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? When I was thinking about 2025 in December, I thought this was such a great year. There's a lot of good things that happened. The best things that happened was that I was able to leave the country and not the reason I left the country, by the way, had nothing to do with politics, but it didn't hurt, right? But we had we had been wanting to leave since before COVID. We were talking about moving to Malaysia back then. And so it just happened to be time. And, but one of the best things that happened this year was that I was able to get to a place where I could think. And that was the problem that I was having all those years. It was too noisy to think, and I was no longer willing to tolerate it. I just turned of the beautiful age of 55 a couple of days ago, and I decided there's things that had to change. No longer was I going to live that way. And so I had to really think about what was no longer a negotiable. And if you don't decide what you're not going to do anymore, you will repeat the same year in a different calendar. How many of you have done that? You need to write it down, what you're committed to do in your business, what you're no longer interested in, what you're doing, what you're done forcing, what you're choosing to protect. And you know, a lot of us want to protect our peace. Decide now, if you're going to protect your peace, what does that mean? And however you do this, okay, whether you go on a retreat or you do some breath work, or you take a long walk, or you take a nap, or you know, find a quiet morning with a notebook, the point is you have to have some clarity before you can create. Yesterday I did a talk inside of my private group talking about clarity creates cash. Okay, so this is the same idea, clarity before creation. You have to think about what you want in your life in order for you to get to where you're going. Okay, you know, if you don't reflect on it, then you're going to end up repeating it. Okay, so that's the first step, is just get some clarity. Second step is to mind dump. Now I know you've heard mind dumping before, and everybody's like, "Oh, I've been mind dumping. I mind dump." That's okay. That's not a problem. But I want you to mind dump with some reality, not these fantasy goals. You know, get everything out of your head, all of it. You know, what do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your business to support? But here's where we stop lying to ourselves, because I hear this a lot. I want to make $1 million by the end of the year. Okay, I get it. And I agree with you. And I know it's possible. However, what are you doing, you know, in the next 6 months? And they say, well, I want to make 50,000 a month. Okay, great. And here's the truth. That number sounds great. And it's a great number to say, but we have to think it through. Okay. Is our lifestyle set up like this? So usually what happens is I'll ask, okay, great, 50,000 a month within the next 6 months, great. What's your life set up? Is your business structured that way? Do you have a plan? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the execution path? And usually at that moment, they don't. They don't really know what that means. They just think it sounds great, and it's okay, and it's good to have these numbers in our head. But also we have to put together some real goals, and so we can create a real design. Okay, that's really what we're looking at. We want to have responsible design. Okay, so ask yourself, what goals are actually possible this year, and what can I commit to without resenting my life? That's another thing, is making sure, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, I almost got to 7 figures. We were grinding it out. Oh my goodness, we were grinding. We were having a great time doing a great business, but it was a lot of high ticket sales, and it was a lot of time and stress. And also the business model was changing a bit. The industry was changing. The world was changing. The world was opening up. And so I found that in order for me to keep doing it at that capacity, that means I would have to work even harder than I was at the present time. And I had to think, was I committed to doing that? Was I going to resent my life after all this? You know, all these things are real. Okay. So what level of growth matches your current capacity? Okay. Sometimes the women I'm talking to, they don't have a team yet. They don't have a path yet. They don't have they don't have it yet. Not so I'm not saying anything bad about, poo-pooing what they can do, because you can do anything. Anything's possible for sure. But you definitely want to put together a real path, not just based on fantasy. Okay, so the next one is execution. So ideas don't pay you. I am the queen of ideas, queen of them. I can come up with an idea. I can come up with 10 right now. Okay, good ones, really good ones. That's a gift. It's a great, I'm very grateful for that gift. But even I know as much as I can come up with an idea so quickly, they don't pay you. They really don't. And a lot of women are like me, where they can come up with ideas, okay, but they get stuck there. Okay, they're brilliant, they have smart, they're creative, they're visionary, and their ideas just stay in their head or on their page. And at the end of the year, nothing is moved, not because they weren't capable, but because they didn't execute. Now, I tell you, the other thing I have going for me is I do execute, and I love to execute. And I usually execute even when I make people scared to execute. I'll push them gently and ever so kindly off the bridge, off the cliff to get their thing done. Okay, because executing is what matters. Ideas, as much as I really enjoy that I have that great gift, it's just not enough. Okay, if you don't have the skill set, the first person you need to find is a strategist, someone who can help you decide what actually matters, remove what does not, turn those ideas into a real plan, and then you need some execution support. Okay, so execution is everything. If you don't do that, it's just talking. Okay, ideas alone don't change your life. Execution does. I remember when I posted one time on social media, I made this post. It was 2019. You can still find this post. And I posted in a group, and I got 1,100 people to comment. And I did another post a couple months later. I did 1,800 people to comment. And I realized, oh, shoot, I can't even respond back to these people. It's too many people. And I had to get some support. So you can't do it alone. You really can't. I remember when we first started the business and my business was starting to go. And it just so happened that it was a good time. My husband was able to join me and in the business, and just him joining me. And we were just talking about this yesterday because we were saying, what is Con really, really good at? Reason why Con supports my business so well is because I'm the person who's high idea, high capacity, strategic, and Con follows up. Con is steady. Con is consistent. And so when he came into the business started to take off. So it's not just me. I have to have a team that's helping me to move my business. So those are things you have to understand. And everybody's looks different. Somebody says, well, I don't have a Con. I don't have this. I don't have that. It doesn't matter. You find how what works for you, your capacity, your situation, and what you're willing to do. Okay, so now let's look at your year, then break it down by your quarter, and then break it down by your day. Now, this is important because next week we're going to break down exactly what I did to get to $100,000 by the day. By the day, I'm going to explain it. Okay, so I want you to really understand this. But if you're not ready to break down your year, break down your quarter, break down your day, then you're just going to be running yourself ragged and you're going to get burned. You're going to get burned out. Okay, so planning your year is not enough. You must back it up with a plan for the quarter, and then you also must back it up with your daily actions. You can't just say, okay, next month I'm going to make 50,000, not knowing what you're doing today. It won't work. Success is not a leap. It's compounded interest. Let that land. Compounded interest. I realized that a lot of us, because we were raised to go to work, get a job, we only understand exchanging money, exchanging our time for our money. We don't think about how to make money make for us, how to make money for us, right? We don't really think about that. We don't know how that works. And we've heard it. We've heard of mailbox money. We've heard of passive income or whatever, and nothing passive about it. But we've heard of money that comes like that, but we have no idea what that means. Okay, so that's what you have to focus on. Compounding money, okay? Small, consistent actions done daily create momentum, That is why habits matter more than motivation. And that goes back to why we have to work on ourselves. Okay, I know this about myself. I am not naturally a routine person. I'm not naturally that. As a matter of fact, I don't even like things the same. I don't like to have the same breakfast every morning. I don't like to do things the same for more than a day. Okay. So, but I've had to learn that a routine was the only way I could function. So I started creating myself a routine. And I also realized that if I don't put a new thing onto the habit, if I have a new thing coming, like if I take some medicine, if I don't stick it onto something that's already moving, so something's already happening at a certain time, it won't stick. It won't stick. So get yourself into the habit of creating routines so that you can create habits so that you can build some compound motions on that. Everything in the business, and my business anyway, is built on habits. Okay, so you do habits, you track, and you have to commit. And that's how things get done without burning out. Okay, I was working with a coach years ago, and we had a tracker. And the tracker is what really started to get me clear about how this works, where I started to think about, okay, I get up every morning and I have to get my exercise in, my personal development in. I need to have some gratitude every day, or, all the different habits we do. I have to get a certain amount of emails out and certain amount of leads collected and certain amount of phone calls done and certain amount of every single day is what needed to happen. And that rhythm is what taught me so much about business. I turned that tracker into a planner, into a journal, and that has led me this whole time. Okay, so if you don't know anything about that, definitely check out my planner, my perfect day planner. But this is how you keep yourself in a daily rhythm. Okay. Depending on where you are, you might still be working inside your business. Okay, what that means is you are the one who is creating the graphics and posting the social medias, and you might be still the one who's making all the phone calls and doing all the lead gen, and that's okay. That's totally okay. I was watching a video of Alex Hormozi where he said if he was starting over, he'd work 12-hour days, split it into focus blocks. Now, women, I don't know. Maybe it's my age, right? Maybe it's my age. But I don't think that women are made that way. I used to follow a lot of men and the way men worked. But now I realize that it wasn't sustainable. So I'd say take what applies and leave what doesn't. Okay. But one thing is universally true. You cannot grow a business without, here's the word, sales. You cannot do it without sales. I had a client complaining that, she didn't have enough sales, right? And instead of going to get more money, she wanted to save more money. She wanted to save more. She wanted to cut back. She wanted to shrink herself and her life. That is moving backwards, and that is common too. I see that a lot. So you figure out your time, you figure out your day, but part of that time needs to be focused on sales. And you can't save your way to $1 million. You cannot. The only thing that solves business problems is what? Sales. Okay, so you must prospect. So in your day, it must be partly prospecting, you must stay visible, and you must go after the opportunities. Okay, this is really important because, if you don't do that in your business, you're going to stay stuck. Okay, you're going to stay stuck. So you working in your business is great, but part of that has to be about getting leads, getting sales, however your day is worked out. Okay, make sure that you are, going after the business and it's consistent. All right, so let's talk about the difference between feminine and masculine energy. Because as you are looking out here, and I'm telling you this from my own personal experience, like I was alluding to a little bit ago, was that I have followed a lot of men in this business, very successful men. I still do. Okay. But I've also tried to do it with all that masculine energy the whole time. Okay. Like masculine energy is stronger than feminine energy. I did it like that, thinking that's what the only way I was going to be able to bring my business forward is if I just use masculine energy. And it's not the masculine energy is not the more powerful energy actually. Okay. And women are not meant to stay inside of masculine energy the whole time. That's a whole nother topic I can go into. Okay. But as a woman, we have a superpower, and it's called attraction. And yes, we can attract business just by standing there, just by showing up, being more visible. Yes, this is super important, being more visible. But when you're starting and scaling, attraction alone is not enough. You've got to get into action. You have to do some initiation, and you have to use a little bit of masculine energy. Okay. The only thing is, don't stay inside of that energy the whole time. Don't just be going after, because a woman's body is just not meant to live inside 100% inside of masculine energy. That's how burnout happens. That's how the burnout happens. So the goal is to balance action with self-care, growth without self-abandonment, ambition with sustainability. Okay, and both work, right? Both work, both sides, feminine energy and masculine energy. So make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you get some rest. Make sure you get your pedicures and your manicures and your relaxation and your retreats. Balance it, right? Balance it, because all of it works. Even that getting that self-care done is going to also attract. It's the whole thing, right? So it's really important. I mean, I have had to learn that the hard way over the years, and I am committed to it, committed to taking better care of myself, committed to designing my life the way I want, and still creating the impact and the income that I want. Okay. None of this is by accident. None of it's haphazard. All of this you see is intentional. If you want to get to 6, possibly 7 figures, it is intentional work. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. If you're not thinking about what you're doing and you're just going for it, you're going to spin your wheels, not be consistent, and not get to the goals that you intend on getting to by the end of this year. So you have to decide what matters, what doesn't matter, what you will do, what you will no longer do. Okay. And let's make this year that we stop romanticizing exhaustion. We stop deciding to tell everybody that we are so tired and that we're doing so much. And we go through this whole long list and we spend 45 minutes explaining all that. We're going to get rid of all that. That's last year. Okay. Let's make this year the year that we grow without breaking ourselves in the process. That is not necessary. 2026 can be an incredible year. This doesn't matter what's going on around you in this political season. That doesn't matter. You're going to stay dialed in and create this amazing year for yourself. And it starts with what? Clarity, commitment, and support. This is going to happen. All right, ladies, I'm excited for all of us, for everything that we're creating this year. I'm excited for all of us to get to our goals. We can and we will get to our goals. I am committed to it. I'm so serious about it. I'm so excited about it. And okay, so a couple of things just to come to the end. I want you to check out some upcoming events. And I'm putting together a couple of different things for you to grab. Number one, a checklist for you to create the things that we just talked about. I will be putting that into chat. Just put in there, just put in, what could I put in there? Planner. Okay, so put into the chat down below, planner, and then we will send you a free planner for you to really get your year started. Okay. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next week. We will be talking about the exact 6-step framework that I had to get to 6 figures. No BS, no BS. How I did it, all the details. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, bye.